Hi, I'm Margaret Lewin and welcome to Margaret Lewin Quilting. Today I'm going to be showing you block 3 of Moda's Stitch Pink for 2020. I'm really getting excited about this. Every day I make a new block and every day I fall more in love with this quilt and how it's going to look when it's all completed. Before I start showing you how to put together the next block, if you like these videos from me, please do give this a thumbs up, and I would greatly appreciate it if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel. It helps me out a lot and I would greatly appreciate it. Behind me today is one of my latest designs. It's a welcome banner and it is done with Moda fabrics, and the designer of the fabric is Ruby Star Society. And these kits are on my website if you would like to get one. Below is a link to my website, and I've also below left links to all of the different tools that I've used to be able to put these blocks together. So don't forget to check out the description below. And if you'd like to see how I put this block together, stick around and I'll show you how. Alright, it's time to stitch together our block number 3. And here is what our block looks like according to the directions. And here is what it looks like completed. Okay, I'm going to flip it over and let you see. On the back side you can see here there are times that I did press my seams open. No big deal. We won't have an issue because of that. And in the end, this is what my block looks like. It does measure correctly at the end, which I believe was 12.5 inches. Yep, it's 12.5 inches. And these are the fabrics that Moda chose. So these are the fabrics that I used for this block, okay? These are the fabrics that I chose for my melanoma quilt. This one is, we've got Grunge 310, and I believe this is one of the darkest colors. So I've got my Grunge 310. This fabric is actually a woven, it's called, and it's really cool. What it looks like is that they've taken a microscopic shot of the woven fabrics. It really is. I wonder, I'll bring it up close. See, you can see the woven. Isn't that cool? I really, really like that. And then, of course, the Grunge White, which is the one common in both of these quilts. So this is what I'm going to show you how to put together. Now, a couple of things that I learned when I made it the first time. One of them is really concerning this block right here. This piece in general, and then all of these when it's put together. I had a tough time with it, and well, I guess I wouldn't say I had a time with it. It was not impossible. My blocks came out really good. I'm not upset with my points at all. All's fine. But what I found was I didn't have a lot of wiggle room, and I want more wiggle room when I'm putting it together than what I've got right now. So what I did when I cut these, instead of cutting them at 3 1/8, I cut them at 3 1/4 and then cut them diagonally. So the directions do say 3 1/8, but I cut mine at 3 1/4. Now, one of the reasons why I can do this and get away with it is because of right here. Once I get these two pieces put together, I have my measurement and I can square it up. Then when I go to add these in, again, I can make sure that I'm square once I add this to it. So there's a little bit of method behind my madness when I go changing the size of a block that I'm going to cut. So again, one last time, these blocks were actually cut at 3 1/4 instead of 3 1/8, and then what I will do is square these up. So as I go over to my sewing machine to stitch these, the very first things I'm going to do is put these two together, and these two, and these two. I'm going to take all 4 of these over to my sewing machine. I'm going to sew them together. I'm going to press them by first setting my seams, Then after I've set my seams, I am going to press them open, which is how I did it on this. I'm going to flip it over and show you. All of these seams are pressed open. I found that they laid much flatter and were easier to work with that way. So I'm going to do that again. So I'll be back in just a minute to show. I have set my board aside that holds all of my blocks, and now what I'm going to do is square up this block. It is supposed to finish at 2 3/4, so I'm going to grab my ruler, and again I'm using one of my creative grids, and I'm going to use the 45-degree diagonal line to line up with my seam. So I'm going to line that right up, and I know I need to be at 2 3/4, which actually happens to be this dot right here. So I'm going to adjust my block just a little bit so that I can be right at the 2 3/4, and there I am. So I'm lining it up here, here, and then there. So I'm just going to trim off these two sides. You can see sometimes it's just the matter of one stitch, and then I'm going to come back and do it again, and then I'll do it 3 more times, and then I'll be ready to add my next pieces onto it. And the next 2 pieces that I will be adding, I'm going to put them on like this, just like that. And then what I will use is the 1/4 inch from here to square it up again. So there's my first one. I'll leave this laying here so that you can look at it. And I'm going to get trimming my other ones, and in the meantime I'll speed this right up so that you don't have to stand there watching me. Alright, I'm all squared up. I am going to tell you one more thing that I am going to do in an attempt to make my squaring up process just a little bit easier the next time, and to make my sewing more consistent, because I think that helps a lot when you can consistently sew, is I'm going to take all of my blocks, I'm going to lay this one on top, matching up my sides. I'll lay this one next, do the same thing, and I'm going to do this on all 4 of these blocks. Then what I'm going to do is sew right straight down, one right after the other. I will then take them and press them, and then I will sew the second side on. But I'm going to only do one side at a time, and I just feel like I get more control by doing that. So there I go, there's my 4. I'm going to go get those sewn, and then I will be back. I have made all 4 of my blocks, and now I'm going to show you how to go about squaring this one up. And again, keeping in mind the fact that we know I increased these, okay? Our block is supposed to be 5 inches square. So the center of our block, so right here, it should be 2 1/2. So now we have a couple of really good points that we know of that we can use to square our block up. The first one being our diagonal line here, and the second one being our 2 1/2 inch mark, which is right here. So I'm going to lay my diagonal line on the diagonal line, and just kind of fuss with it a little bit to get it straight. And then the other thing I'm doing is I am lining my 1/2 inch mark, my 2 1/2 inch mark, right up with the point of the black triangle. I'm going to hold it down safely, and I'm just going to go up and then across. And you can see, once again, it's just really fine pieces that I've trimmed away, but that is going to make a difference. It's going to make it much easier for me down the road because I know my block is square. And so now I'm going to square this side up. I want to double check something here. Just making sure that I moved, and I don't want to do that. So on an instance like that where you saw me move it, what I'm going to do is take the heel of my hand and I'm going to place that off of my ruler. And then that way it won't slide. I do at the exact same time really make sure that none of my fingers are where I'm going to be cutting. So I line it up again and then I just trim that right off. Okay, that's my first block. I'll get the other 3 done and then it's going to be time to put some more of this block together. We're actually moving on to some really easy parts of this construction. So the next couple of spots is going to be very quick and easy and you'll be able to have it done in no time flat. So here I go again, squaring it up. And again, like I said before, it's really important that we square these blocks up as we go. It just will make for much nicer construction of your finished blocks. Alright. Oops, I gotta go this way. And remember, you line up your 2.5 and your diagonal line, and then you're making sure that you're at 5 inches, and I am, so I'm just trimming away. And once I finish this last one, I'll flip it over and show you how I pressed it so that you can see that too. One more, and then I'll show you how I pressed it. Line it right up. And how I pressed all of these seams was open. Very simple, kept it real simple. Just did them all alike. So I'm going to move that ruler. Now I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to put this together. So the very first thing I will do is, let me lay this out first so that I'm only doing one thing at a time. So the very first thing I will do is sew the black and white together. Once I've done that, I'm going to complete this row, I'm going to complete this row, and this row. Then it's just a matter of sewing the 3 rows together and adding our 2 side strips. So I'll get that done. I probably will get pretty close to the whole thing done before I come back and show you what it looks like. Not a whole lot more squaring up at this point. It's mostly just double checking and making certain that we are where we need to be. But the good thing is we do have measurements again on the back side that tell us that we are to be 11 3/4 and then 12 1/2. So I'll be back to show you where I'm at. So my blocks for block number 3 are all done. So this obviously is the one for Modus Stitch Pink, which is breast cancer awareness. And I'm very pleased with the way the block looks. And then this is with my colors, which is for melanoma awareness. So I'm really excited. Of course, we've all got threads hanging on our pieces when we get them to this stage. But I'm really happy with how it's come out. I think they both look really good. Don't forget when you go to do yours that it really worked out well, making these blocks just a little bit bigger than normal and then being able to square them down. You could also increase this one just a little bit, only to make it just a little bit easier. So what you would do with these is cut these at 5 1/2 instead of at 5 3/8. That would work out fine. And then you would be able to square them down. Just would give you a little bit more wiggle room when it comes to squaring it up. So these are these 2 blocks. Now we're off to block number 4 next. So I will see you back here tomorrow for block number 4. See you then, everybody.